We're just getting set up here. We got live here, RAZZ the documentary. 1 year ago today, where were you? Where were you, Jeff?
Oh, right. 1 year ago, exactly 1 year ago, I was at the DC Music Salon with you.
Oh, that's right.
It was the
I was there as well.
1 year mark of when we presented the first look, if you will, work in progress screening of the RAZZ the documentary. We had set up that screening with the DC Music Salon as a chance to kind of pull together what we were working on and also what we had gathered and to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the release of See Redo, the RAZZ first single. But we had that screening. It was well received, and we had a good crowd, great crowd, full house.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you just had a screening of Led Zeppelin played here in Baltimore.
I did.
Last week. That went really well.
That went really well. It was on Saturday. It was also an anniversary, a 50th anniversary of the Led Zeppelin's first Baltimore appearance at the Civic Center, and on February 16th, 1969. And so we had a screening of Led Zeppelin played here to commemorate that. But tonight we're talking about RAZZ the documentary.
Absolutely.
And Skip Groff, who we lost this week, who's a huge part of the music scene and the music culture of Washington and the entire region. And
absolutely
will be greatly missed. He's of course a part of this story and a part of several documentaries that have been produced. A lot of tributes, well deserved, online and in print. And we're going to share some of the material that we shot with Skip earlier this year.
Yeah, we got some behind the scenes clips we're going to be playing with when we were interviewing Skip. We probably did about a 45-minute interview, I think. Something close to that. So we're gonna when we do these live events from now on, we are going to play clips when we can.
I think after the last one, I realized I should be a little more prepared to share something on camera and also something that might be of interest, relevant. But you had a good idea, and that was to share some of the clips of material that we've assembled and collected from the interviews, of which many of the interviews will only be using sound bites here and there, so why not share some of the surplus?
Exactly. The documentary is going to be 90 minutes or whatever. We have 20, 30 hours of material. So
and we're still gathering.
Right, with interviews and some other surprises. So as we go along with RAZZ the documentary, we will be sharing clips at these live events, even after the documentary's aired, whatever, that means, wherever that's shown. We're still going to be attending the Facebook group we have, RAZZ the documentary, and we'll be sharing things on there as well.
I think it's a good idea.
No, absolutely.
I mean, it's taken me a while to adopt or adapt to this new technology. I mean, I'm used to holding everything, tightly to my vest, not sharing anything. But I think this is clearly the way to go. It's almost like it's an extension of the documentary.
Well, it is. That's exactly right. I mean, in the old days, we'd be doing film. Everything would be kind of self-contained. You'd have one showing or whatever. You'd finish the thing, and that would be kind of it, unless you did a director's cut years later. But since everything is different with digital video, we can show clips that are, extended versions of things that perhaps were in the documentary. Like we're going to tonight. We're going to show...
Once again in my head.
We're going to show...
I need a hat. You have a hat?
I do have a cap. You want to get a cap? Want me to get a cap?
It's too late. My head's already... a beacon. We might as well just go ahead and proceed. I'll stay in the I'll stay in the back, in the background.
Well, you're blurry back there, though.
Okay.
You don't want to stay too far back, because this is a shallow depth of field lens. So.
Okay.
So anyway, 1 year ago today, we showed the first 20 minutes. Was it, Jeff?
Gosh, I think it was longer than that.
Was it longer than that?
I feel like it was 40 minutes, but
No, it wasn't 40. I think it was closer to 20.
really?
Yeah. I don't think it was 40.
I don't know. Well, we'll split the difference and say a half hour.
So, yeah. Well, there you go. Split the difference, say half hour. So, anyway,
Maybe it was 20 minutes.
I think it was like 20 minutes. We're going to play a clip from that right now, just a little.
We're just playing a clip from the conversation. We're not even showing what. Well, why don't you go ahead? We had the post-screening discussion. We just want to commemorate the fact that this was 1 year from that. Excuse me, our launch.
Exactly. 1 year ago tonight. So we're still working on it.
And we're not going to be here a year from now. We'll have something to show before that.
Yes, we're planning on having the main screening in 2019. We have some surprises coming up. So we got a few clips we're going to play tonight. The first one is this one.
If you're here for the tax seminar, you're in the wrong place. This is DC Music Salon, and we're here to talk about rock and roll and remember RAZZ and have some fun. But anyway, thank you all for being here, and let's welcome these guys.
Thanks, Mark. And thank you, Mark, for doing this, because it's a wonderful forum, and I like working with you, and I love subjects such as this, and a chance to really share my passion with people who have the same interests, and that includes Richard Taylor, who we have been friends for a long time, and now we're colleagues because we both have been just really keen on telling this story. And Michael, you worked at the Unicorn you were contributing a lot, right?
I'd illustrate mostly for the city paper.
City paper, okay. So you were doing the city paper.
Unicorn Times, I didn't illustrate too many things. So we just put an ad in once a month, quarter-page ad, and that was pretty much. I knew the editor, and I knew. Jesus. That's what happens.
Publisher?
Barrington?
Elliot.
Yeah. And I used to have some grins with him, but the illustration I mostly did was for the city paper.
So that was the first showing we had a year ago, and
Wasn't a whole lot to show.
it was good. It was a good showing.
Well, no, I mean, right now we just gave you a little bit of it.
Right.
We just commemorated it with that.
See, I can put the comments right in the actual video stream. See.
Mark Smith. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for stopping by. So anybody that comments on the stream, I can add those comments to the actual video stream itself. So we had, as Jeff said, we had some bad news this week with one of our people we interviewed.
And friends of the project and of many projects. And a tremendous figure in the music community. Long time, years, decades, from the Washington area, graduate of Suitland High School, Skip Groff. And many of you know him from Yesterday and Today Records, the store, or from his record label, Limp Records, or from his being a DJ on several radio stations throughout the area, being a music maven, expert in music and music history, popular music. He was a tremendous presence in the trivia contests that were going. He just was really connected with many of the different areas of music appreciation.
Absolutely.
And Skip Groff, many tributes on in the paper, online, a lot of media outlets. There was even something in Rolling Stone. And Skip has been in documentaries, punk related. He's in my Led Zeppelin Played Here. And of course, we interviewed him for the RAZZ project. And everybody's going to miss him. We want to have, our condolences to Kelly and Christy and the Groff family. And we, certainly, share everybody's loss.
Right. So when Jeff and I are doing these interviews, there's people. Everybody's got a different personality. Skip certainly had one. He had his, his personality was very, what would you call it? Everybody has a distinct personality. Obviously Michael Reedy's got one. The different guys in the bands have different one. But Skip was one of those people that had a personality like that people,
Distinct.
Distinct. There you go. That's exactly what I was going to say. That's what I was trying to say. So we're gonna play a clip now we interviewed Skip over at Robbie White's house last fall, was it?
May.
Was it? Oh, it's almost been a year. Okay.
Has it?
Yeah. Well, today's February. 9 months.
Okay.
So we interviewed Skip for about 45 minutes, and we're going to play a couple of clips tonight. A little behind the scenes clips, and then we're gonna come back between each one, so you can talk, you can make comments. We will make comments ourselves. Here you go. Rolling.
Well, Skip, thank you for being here and being on camera. I know
Are you going to introduce them?
Well,
This isn't live.
this isn't live. I mean,
editing everything.
we've got it all edited. We're making it. I don't have to do that, but
Roddy's trying to get a executive producer credit.
he's already got a major credit
I call
now.
myself Weasel and
Yeah.
get executive producer credit.
No, Skip, you were interviewed with James, and obviously you've been interviewed a lot, and there's a great deal of backstory in Washington D.C. music history. We're doing a documentary about RAZZ, and what were your earliest memories of this band?
Well, the early days of the store was shortly after their C Redo 45 had come out. So somebody from the band, I don't even remember who at this point, brought us some copies and we sold them in the store. From that point, even though I was seeing a lot of the local bands that we were dealing with at that point in time and thinking about putting out on my label Limp Records, RAZZ was not one of them. They were one of the bands like the Urban Verbs, who was trying for the brass ring and trying to get major label international recognition. And I just didn't think that there was ever any way that we'd get hooked up together. But though I had heard that Abad was leaving, and we went to the last show with him and RAZZ at the Varsity Grill.
So that was the first clip.
Oh. Did that end?
Yes. That's why I switched it off.
Well, that was the beginning of
Right.
the interview.
Right.
We were, Robbie's got an incredible collection, so you saw some of that behind Skip.
And he's got a pinball machine.
Yeah, on the other side. That's
Yes.
right.
Absolutely.
But Elton John,
Is that what it was?
Captain Fantastic.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's what it was.
You know better than me.
I think. I'm sorry, Robbie, if that's wrong. But Skip was, of course, he was very candid and offered his assessment of, his experience with RAZZ and being involved in certain aspects of the music community.
Right.
And one thing that I appreciate, I know everybody will, is that Skip has been getting a lot. Has been involved in some of the different projects, research projects, and including the University of Maryland, which created the Skip Groff collection, and where he's an alumni, although he didn't graduate. He's from Maryland.
What is the Skip Groff collection? What exactly is it?
Well, I think it's just everything from air checks to correspondence and ephemera and records.
A lot of audio and stuff then?
A lot of material, because Skip was a acquirer as well as a dealer. And there's just, trust me, there's a big collection that's been acquired and will be preserved. It's been written up. In fact, some of it's online. You can find some of the information about the Skip Groff collection. If I had it in front of me, I could read that to you, but it's on. I've posted some of that information. You can also find it by Googling it. But I'm just saying that there's an oral history. He's at least, and he was always very candid and accessible with his story, and would do interviews, not just with us, but with others.
Right. And
you can find a lot of that if you look for it on YouTube and or other places. He's been doing radio. I know Robbie's had him, WOWD. He's done some shows there. He's done shows with Top Shelf Oldies. You can find his air checks. There's a WPGC tribute radio tribute page, and he was known as Skip Nelson on the air there. And there's a page devoted to him. There's also other air checks. I don't even have right in front of me the entire, radio career that he had.
Right.
But it was pretty substantial, and he also produced Pentagram, the heavy metal band, and was just involved with a lot of different things that was happening. And I didn't even know Skip that well through the store.
Okay.
I got to know him later, and I kind of know it through other people. I mean, I went to the store, but I wasn't a major patron.
Today. Yeah, I went down there, when Zen Archer.
Yeah, you sold your records there?
Right, Zen Archer had some singles, so I shopped them to all the different places. Whether there was a store in Pikesville, too, that had...
That was Music Machine.
There you go, Music Machine. The name of one of my favorite garage bands. You remember them? Talk.
Well, I don't remember them at the time. I remember them
retrospectively.
Sure. Are they on Nuggets? Are they?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, they're a. I mean, of course, I know them just basically by becoming interested in the psychedelic '60s.
Right.
So, anyway.
So speaking of the psychedelic '60s, what else do we have here? We have
the next clip.
The next clip.
We're showing another clip. We have several clips of Skip.
Here's another one.
If you look at a band from the late 80s like the Godfathers, if you saw them in concert, you would think you were looking at RAZZ.
The national act, the Godfathers?
Yeah, they were from England, Scotland. And but their whole set, their whole stage presence, their songs were all drawn from the same well as RAZZ 10 years earlier. So it was possible to do that kind of thing and get signed by a major label. You just had to have the right people in your back working for you.
So that was an interesting statement. You had to have people in your right working for you to make a career out of music like the Godfathers and RAZZ.
I don't even remember how we got to that in that conversation.
I don't either.
That I guess we were just talking about, what it took for a band like RAZZ to become signed by a major label. We were discussing that. So
that's been a common thread of the discussion along this documentary. Everybody has there's different opinions about it. But people talk about, RAZZ getting signed or not getting signed and different reasons for it. Remember, I think everybody we talk to talks about that at some point.
Well, people have different opinions, and I think it's an interesting subject to explore and think about. But, clearly it's a common story. It's a common storyline throughout the careers of many bands.
Yep.
The band we're discussing here
Is
with
RAZZ.
this project is RAZZ.
Right.
But Skip was a fan of this band, The Godfathers. And, well, you heard what he said. Do you remember that band?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was during the New Wave era from England.
New Wave.
Yeah. Post-punk, maybe.
How would you describe New Wave? I don't even know what that...
Well,
it's like...
to me, the original punks were the Stooges. Yeah, MC5 were a rock and roll band. The Stooges were like a punk band. And now you're talking about the late 60s, 69.
Well, the Godfathers, I don't know.
Birth, school, work, death.
That's them?
Yes. That's them.
You're right. I like that song.
I do too.
They were here. The Godfathers are an English alternative rock new wave. You were right.
Yeah.
If you're believing Wikipedia.
Because they're not a punk band.
Right.
They're not a punk
New
band.
wave band from London, England, with strong influences from R&B and punk. Years active, 1985 to 2000.
Okay.
And then 2008 to present.
Right. Exactly.
So that was, it's a long run. I guess
that is a long run.
But I don't know. They had, I'd rather listen to RAZZ.
No, I would.
That. But I remember that song. That's the only song of theirs I know.
Yeah. It was a good song. I enjoyed it. I liked it when it was out. And
London-based rock and roll.
I just put that video up on my Facebook page a week or two ago.
Welcome to the official site of Godfathers. They're just called Godfathers.
Okay.
Well, maybe the Godfathers, just like Slicky Boys were just Slicky Boys, but everybody says the Slicky Boys. I guess RAZZ too is RAZZ or the RAZZ.
Yeah, it depends on who you talk to.
Well, anyway, Skip seemed to be a fan of the Godfathers, and
I can see the comparison somewhat. The RAZZ at that point were a bit darker, I think. A bit more mysterious than the Godfathers, but the Godfathers had that same kind of.
Well, it was already the Godfathers came later.
No, I know, I realize that, but I'm saying the comparison now. Skip's comparing them. Skip compared. I can see the comparison.
Right. Okay, I understand. Yeah.
So while we were filming during the middle of the interview, I didn't know it was the middle of the interview then, Skip. His body pack had fallen. I had it behind him, and it had fallen down. And this next clip is that little interaction that we had when I adjusted the body pack so it was back where it belonged.
Can you pull your shirt down a little bit?
I will.
Oh, good. Okay.
And do you have any makeup?
It's too late for that, Skip. You're already done. Let me see if I can hook this on here real quick.
Is there anything, Jeff, you said you got a few questions. Is there anything that I haven't answered that you wanted to get answered?
Yeah, just a few.
Go ahead.
Let me.
Hi, Steve.
Hey.
Aren't you going to ask them about that big fight they had with the Stranglers that time?
Did they?
No, I made that.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
That was the Sex Pistols and the Stranglers.
You know, RAZZ was supposed to open up for the Sex Pistols at the Alexandria roller rink.
Yeah, you should bring that up.
I had like 20 tickets to that damn show. I was a big fan of both bands.
Put it up on eBay.
Yeah, I turned them back in like a dummy.
Oh,
Man.
those tickets are probably worth $1,000.
I know they were $5 a piece.
How much is that first Sex Pistols single going for now, Skip?
There's two different versions of it.
What is it, A&M?
No, that's the second one. The first one is Anarchy in the UK and I Just Want to Be Me on EMI, but there's mispressings of it that have the labels reversed.
How much?
But God Save the Queen goes for original pressings of God Save the Queen on A&M go for upwards of $5,000.
Have either of you guys ever had that? You ever had one? No? What about you?
When Howie and I used to go to England, there was a guy named Bill Forsyth who used to work for Virgin Records, and he had a stash of them that they had given to the employees when they canceled the record. Now, when Howie and I first started going over there, buying records from him, he was selling them for $100 a piece.
Did you buy it?
And I said, no. I said, there's no way in the world I'm going to get anybody to pay, enough money to make my money back on that. Howie bought one, and I'm sure he sold it, for $150 as soon as we got back.
Yeah, well.
But I just never did.
So that was the third clip we had.
I really love that clip. It just kind of shows Skip in his element, talking record dealing and, record collecting and record dealing war stories. And, it just was, that was his thing. I mean, he was still a dealer, being, at the monthly record shows at Arbutus and attend and selling online. And, sadly, I'm not a consumer anymore.
Of records?
Well, yeah, I don't have, the disposable income I once did.
Sure.
Maybe it just goes elsewhere. But, I mean, I respect and admire and, envy people who can still have that collecting Jones.
Yeah, I guess I haven't bought records for a while, but I certainly have the ones that I originally bought, most of those, including a mono version of Sgt. Pepper.
Really?
Yeah, I bought it down in Silver Spring. Right, as a matter of fact, right by the Silver Theater, in that shopping center. There used to be a record store in there.
What's it worth?
I don't know.
It's an LP?
It's the album.
Oh, the album, of course it is.
Yeah, the album. But I remember buying it. I was a teenager, and I said, well, this is like $1 cheaper than the stereo version, so I'll buy this one. It's cheaper. That was my reasoning. That's the only reason I bought it. I don't know if I even have it anymore, but I did.
You just said you did.
Well, I think my brother has it. I think I sold it to him, and I think I sold it to him, and I got the stereo copy. I wanted the stereo copy. But I got the original Sticky Fingers album with the zipper on it. I know I have that one. I have a couple of the ones with Satanic Majesty's Request with the 3D cover, the holographic.
That's cool.
I have a couple of those. So those are my collectors. But I used to, of course, buy records before CDs came out, as most everybody in our audience did. So anyway, as we progress with this documentary, RAZZ the documentary.
I was looking up there what it was worth. I don't think it's worth a whole lot.
No, I don't think it is either.
Anyway, but to skip again, we really are glad that we were able to interview Skip.
Absolutely.
And I hope Skip was happy to be interviewed. I think he was. I know he was. And
do you think that whatever we were going to edit into the documentary about Skip has changed since he is no longer around? Do you think it's changed at all?
I don't know what we're doing.
I mean, I'm just trying to think if we would put, for example, most people besides the bands, I mean, you got Michael Reedy, you got Abide, you got Bill Craig, you got Ted Nicely, if we ever get him on video. We have him on audio right now. Mick Fowley.
Thank you. Hi.
And we have Doug Tall. They're going to be in the documentary more than anybody else, obviously. But the peripheral people that are involved with the RAZZ, the documentary, or in and out. And I was just wondering if you think we would put more skip in than we originally were going to, or about the same amount. It's not going to affect.
I mean, I personally, I would imagine it won't necessarily affect it. I mean, it's going to really dictate on where the storyline goes.
Sure.
And what I mean, the one thing that's great about this, what we're doing now, and what I mentioned earlier, is this is kind of extension. It's a part of the documentary. I mean, we're kind of showing like DVD outtakes and extras
before the
DVD.
Yeah, exactly, before it comes out.
Which won't even be a DVD. I mean, I think that's an obsolete technology.
I still like DVDs, especially Blu-rays, but I know what you're saying.
But I think this is just something we're now having. It's a chance to share more. It's kind of like just being, I don't know, it's like a year-long documentary. It's like a living, breathing thing.
Right. And even after
2 years.
Even after the documentary is out, we're still going to we have hours and hours and hours of footage. So we'll sort through those things different ways, and we'll present them on the Facebook group first. That's the main thing, RAZZ, the documentary. And we'll keep on putting a lot of the material out after.
We'll see how much. Well, let's get there first.
Right.
I mean, that's because we can't really.
No, that's where we're headed. Exactly.
Right. I mean, we've got to get. I'm just saying that this is a great idea to share stuff along the way, because typically you kind of wait until the film's done. At least that's been my experience.
Right.
And sometimes you wait too long.
Right.
And this way we can at least share the process, and share our bountiful surplus.
Yeah.
Along the way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're gonna. Our idea is to have the documentary finished and but shown this year, hopefully.
Definitely.
That's what we're doing.
Well, I mean, we're aiming for that, because I'm a big, I just loved having anniversary pegs, and this year is the 40th anniversary of the year 1979, when you could still see RAZZ in the clubs.
That's true.
And in fact, Michael Aridi mentioned earlier the Unicorn Times.
Oh, do you
I have a copy of the Unicorn Times.
Here you go.
This is the February issue from 1979. Right here. It's free.
Oh, it was free, right? James Cotton.
And God, man, I'm
sugar.
I'm sorry. I had too much to. I didn't need that second burger cookie. Anyway, this is so 40 years ago you would get this, where you pick it up. I mean, and here it is. There's the RAZZ ad. This is the ad that was there 40 years ago in the February 1979 issue of Unicorn Times, which the Colonel presents RAZZmania live on stage, an incredible stimulation. I mean, many of you have seen this. If not, have your own copy of it. Is that clear?
Right there. Parallel with me, because I should be in focus.
Why?
That's it.
Okay. Should I do it closer?
Well, no, because you're out of focus.
Okay.
This has a very short.
I see. Now, of course, Michael Reedy designed that.
And where are the places they were playing in that ad?
Okay, that's kind of what I bought it for. Well, actually, February 2nd and 3rd, it was the Deli. February 16th and 17th, it's the Back Room, which, of course, is the Varsity Grill.
Right.
The legendary Varsity Grill Back Room, College Park. And the 19th, February 19th, one night at Columbia Station on Columbia Road in Adams Morgan. And that's those were the dates in February. which is 2 weekends.
Right.
Not even. Yeah, 2 weekends and an off night. After you've been there, you'll feel like you've really seen them. Anyway, another one of Michael's really eye-popping ads that stand out from all the other ads.
Absolutely.
And but that's what was going on 40 years ago, as well as.
So, are these your copies of the Unicorn Times?
Well, they're. This one is part. I have my own collection. Yes.
Okay.
As well as copies that have kind of, been shared. Some of these are Richard Harrington's, which were loaned to Markup Sosnick, and then others. I know a lot, like I mentioned, University of Maryland. They have a collection that Richard Harrington got them.
Okay.
The library, the Washington Library, the MLK, the Washington Library System, the District of Columbia Library has, you can go on to what's called Dig DC, Digital DC, and they have a run of Unicorn Times as well. You can find them online. What's going on? I can't see.
Well, that's all right.
Anyway, but anyway, so a lot of this is accessible. I happen to like the actual copy, which you can hold and smell.
Right, it smells like
old
newspaper.
Mildewed newspaper. Yeah, and look at this, a full-page Molly Hatchet ad. When Molly Hatchet strikes, heads roll, and this, I just think it's great. It just really takes me back. Would take anybody back.
Sure.
And so that's just, it's nice to be able to look back here, and it's a great window into the time. And I really greatly appreciate programming and that kind of celebrates the history. I really admire, like a chance if you listen to Robbie White's show, we'll put a plug in for Forbidden Alliance.
Sure.
Because a lot of times Robbie White and Weasel on Sunday mornings on WOWD, to me, I feel like it's the Unicorn Times comes to life when interviewing a lot of the artists and musicians from the region, really paying respect and giving them their due. And Skip was on there
absolutely
frequently.
Absolutely.
And what's great is you can find a lot of those shows online still, which is the beauty of all of this. Even this scintillating production we're doing right now will be online for a little bit. A little bit
anyway, right. But, so Jeff, as we've been recording, interviewing people, without revealing the context or the content, have there been surprises when people gave answers to maybe questions or some of the stories? Have you been surprised? I know a few times I've been surprised.
You mean
just there's maybe something that you weren't expecting somebody to say that really caught you off guard about the RAZZ situation?
Well, every time I talk to Michael Reedy, there's something new to learn.
Yes, there is.
And also just the whole mechanics of what made a band work. Ultimately, because they did have to work. Otherwise, how would you have a 10-year, run and some years more active than others? But and also just understanding the dynamics between the different personalities and how, and a lot of it is just like it's a really intangible that you really can't necessarily put a finger on it. I guess that's where the expression, lightning in a bottle comes from. You kind of somehow capture something. And, that seems to me like what happened here. It was a real big bang that worked. And so surprises, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Yep.
Nothing comes to my head right now.
Well, we've interviewed probably Michael Reedy more than anybody else, would you say? as far as
Well,
because we interviewed him by himself and we interviewed him with group members as well.
well, the group members, of course, as well as also, we're working with James Schneider and Paul Bichal's material
Right.
from Punk the Capital.
Right.
And then, of course, there's tremendous amounts of, excuse me, God, there's great material. Old WGTB radio shows are invaluable. And just things are just turning up from different sources.
Yep.
But really, a lot of it, just the collected oral history. It's we're still mining it.
Yes, we could absolutely complete the documentary with what we have right now.
You think?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We have.
I think we need a little more. Just we need some more.
No, I
We've
think
asked people to be in it. We don't want them to think
that
we're
doesn't.
not
That's
having
not.
them involved.
That's not the point. The point is that we could complete the
Well, we
documentary.
could, of course.
But we're still going to be doing a few more interviews.
Well, I think also there's more things that a lot of it is you have to kind of see what you need.
Yes.
And where you want to have the holes filled in, and where you want to, because it's a lot of it is it's you got to tell a story,
Right.
don't you think?
Yes.
Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Out there, you want to have a story. You want people to be able to sit and watch something and enjoy it.
Yeah, so absolutely. So the last documentary, when I saw Goose to Go See RAZZ, the point that changed my opinion of them was when they started playing at the Keg. That's when I really realized how the potential of how great a band they were was realized at the Keg. The Keg when they started doing original material. And
You always talk about this, and I feel like I missed something.
well,
I missed it. I missed all that.
yeah, I don't know if I would have if it wasn't for the Keg era. I think they were there for maybe 6 months, something like that. They played there quite often, and I'd come down to see them from all the way from Westminster, drive down there. But that was a defining moment for me, and the reason I became a fan of the bands was that era. And I, of course, followed them around till the last time they played was 79, New Year's Eve 79, or not the New Year's Eve weekend, I think.
As the band, as the original band.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
So up to 79.
That's this year, 40-year.
This is the 40 years later. That's why we're going to have it out this year.
Well, we're going to, yeah. And everybody, a lot of people have been real, remain and continue to be supportive and finding material that we're excited about, live recordings, photos.
Yes.
Different. There's just more to come.
No, there absolutely is more to come.
But still, we do need some. We have some more stories to gather, and but a lot of the interviews, even though like with Skip, we did talk to him for 45 minutes.
Yep.
And so a little bit will however brief sound bites go into the film. Imagine that's magnify that by all the other interviews.
Right.
So you'll just be taking sound bites here and there, but then it's all really a valuable, in my opinion, oral history and worth gathering and preserving.
Well, the reason is because RAZZ was a incredible rock and roll band. That's the reason why we're here. It's not just a local band that we're interested in. There's lots of local bands. RAZZ was a special case. The talent that was in that band was absolutely incredible.
Why don't we play another outtake? Or intake, or what do you call this?
I don't know what they pre-take.
Pre-take.
So
right. We don't know what we just set this up a little bit.
So when I was talking earlier about different characters besides the band members that we've interviewed, this is one of them.
Well, several. We've got
lots of people besides the main band members, but this is one of the people that you will see. People
people.
It's the Rock and Roll Institute.
Right.
Recording him separate.
Are you record? Oh, I see. Wait a minute. So you're recording.
I'm recording him separate and this separate and that separate.
You know, I think Joe should you should talk a little bit about your music career since leaving the Rock Institute and the era. You had quite a unique career with Time Life. If you could tell us something about that.
Well, I didn't know more about oldies than a lot of other people because, as you know, there are a lot of obsessive people in the world, rock history and all of that kind of stuff. But what always amazed me about being at Time Life and doing all those collections, and I was real happy that almost everything I did sold, is that it seemed easy to figure out what other people wanted. And I realized something about human beings is that most people can't get past their own tastes. And you know, Steve, I was working with Robert Hull, Charlie McCardle. They knew as much rock history, maybe more than I did.
But I think the fact that you were a psychiatrist and you had your pulse, your finger on the pulse of the human need for the music that couldn't get outside their own needs, as they were saying.
Well, I always thought if people like a crappy song, I could see why they liked it. You know what I mean? You don't have to appreciate a bad piece of music. The Little River Band, one of their hits from the early 80s, the kind of thing that most of us would cringe. We're talking about an early 80s period here. Raz, do any of us even remember the Little River Band or their hits? Rusty's looking and going, who are they? He doesn't. But they were very successful, and people to this day, I'll talk about what I did in the 80s and people go, do you have any Little River Band hits?
Exactly. Little River Band. I barely remember them. I couldn't tell you what their hit was.
I can.
What is it?
Reminiscing. I think that's. Is that it? Anyway.
I don't remember.
I can remember. I can listen to Joe Sassby all day.
Absolutely.
And of course Steve Lorber and Joe Sassby. Steve Lorber on the air on WGTB with Mystic Eyes and Joe Sassby. They were a team. And Rusty Olmert, manager of RAZZ.
Right.
There we were interviewing Steve, Rusty, and we got Dr. Joe Sassby
right
on the Skype. So, that's the one thing. We're going to be doing Skype interviews and FaceTime. We're going to do the computer interviews via that technology in some cases when we can't interview somebody in person. So there's a terrific example of that. And anyway.
No, absolutely. One of the people that we want to get on camera is Ted Nicely. I've got about 45 minute to an hour interview with him on the phone, so we want to try to make that happen at some point.
But we've been reaching out to we tried that with Steve Grossman of who was the he was out in
where was he?
Albuquerque? No, in Santa Fe.
Santa Fe.
Yeah,
okay.
And he was who he booked the Rockpile show, and we did if you might have seen that if you watched our anniversary commemoration of that
the University of Maryland
RAZZ show at the University of Maryland this past November. But we talked to Steve, and this one turned out a little better with Joe Sassby. But you can see the possibilities.
Right.
That are available.
Absolutely. So, like Jeff said, we have some more interviews to do, but that's not going to stop us from editing the video. Editing the movie as we, right now. So,
and you'll be able to follow the progress. You'll be able to progress reports with us.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Well, the next screen, the original the preview we had a year ago was at the library. What library was that? You remember?
Martha T. Daniel.
Okay, that was down in D.C. The next screenings are actually going to be, we're figuring on being at a theater, the when we put it out, of some sort.
Yes.
So.
I think we'll have enough. They'll be the first to know.
Yeah, exactly. You guys will be the first to know.
Exactly when and where and who and how. And, I just, God darn it,
it's been a lot of work, and
I'm just sorry Skip isn't going to be around.
Yeah.
And,
well, maybe he's watching tonight. There you go.
we'll have hopefully he's going to, Skip was in Led Zeppelin played here. And he also, with Mark Weiss, they were both talking about their, that film's full of, just a lot of people, different commentary. And so he was a part of that. And and I'll always be grateful for what he contributed to that project. And, I just think Spirit will be here. He had a real interesting things to say about everybody.
Right.
And was a good interview. We have
absolutely was.
And Robbie was nice enough to let us do it at his place. And thanks to Steve Lorber also for letting us do interviews at his place.
Right.
And we're going to be again doing more interviews and picking up more stories, and of course open to any other kinds of contributions from people that might have something to contribute. And it's been really fun to find live recordings people did. I mean, a lot of times recordings that weren't done off the soundboard, but actually Mark Frawley brought a cassette recorder,
right.
And this stuff to several club dates. That's really that's great. It's almost like an archaeological dig. It's like you're there literally. I mean, you can almost sense the molecules that was going on in the air. It's real kind of it's a cosmic thing to listen to, at least for me.
It was. It does.
And because it's also not, it's done on the fly and not professional, but to me it sounds great. I mean, I think it's really an important document.
Right. No, absolutely. I'm glad to have those.
So maybe there's others that will turn up.
Well, that would be good.
People might have cassette recordings. I need some water. I don't know.
Didn't you have any water?
I had, here. Oh, here. I got some water here.
There you go.
Yeah. Here. Mm.
That's for room service.
Since you might have asked and been curious, here's the March issue of the Unicorn Times with the urban verbs on the cover.
March
1979.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nighthawks, full page ad. On the back, there's Pete Ragusa. Right?
Yep. Looks
on
like
the back of the former RAZZ member.
Original RAZZ.
RAZZ, yes.
Right.
Former RAZZ drummer.
Yep.
Prior to Doug Tull. And Harvey Nussbaum, who was in between Doug and Pete, I believe.
Okay.
And anyway.
Is there anything else in there of interest?
Well, I think, yeah, of course I can't find it right now, but it's like, right here's, Santana. I appearing at the Capitol Center, March 8th, 1979. I think I was there.
So that's 4 years.
What?
40 years, 40 years.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We're coming up on March.
I don't know why I thought for some reason I thought that was a big deal. I hadn't really discovered the the club scene and what was happening. Let's see, Capitol Center, Child Herald, Cellar Door.
It depends.
What? You figure it out. Where would you rather be? I had it here a moment ago. Your stall, Richard.
I saw a lot of bands at the Cellar Door. I remember seeing bands there.
Here. Full page ad. Urban Verbs, the RAZZ. Ontario Theatre, March 8th. 8:30. Who opened? What was that? Who was that? Was that Urban? Did they headline or did RAZZ headline?
I don't know. It looks like they did, but I would have went to see the RAZZ, I'm sure. I don't remember.
I'm not sure. Was that a benefit or was that a concert that was? Doesn't say really. Maybe, but was it for the Unicorn Times or? I mean, I've seen the poster for that, which basically looks like the same thing.
Exactly.
It's the same thing in the ad.
Exactly.
And also the ad for the RAZZ was, here it is. Another interesting Michael Reedy ad, RAZZ ad that stands out much and really pops and gets your attention. Are they seeing it backwards?
No, they should be seeing it. Maybe it is backwards. No, that's right there. Can you see it?
Right.
That's what they're saying. Same thing we're seeing there.
If I moved it in closer?
Well, no, it's out of focus. Focus is where we are.
Okay.
This is a very short focusing lens.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Short distance.
This is like when we were interviewing Mark Jenkins and I was trying to show these and making a complete mess. Sorry. Anyway, that was hold it. The RAZZ. Therapy offers vessel control and other solutions at the following locations in March. Desperados, March 5th. Ontario Theatre, March 8th, with the Urban Verbs. The Backstage, I guess that's Beacon's Backstage.
Okay.
March 15th. The Deli. Not the Psychedelic, but the Deli.
That was a psychedelic.
You know where.
That was a psychedelic.
Right, of course.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but you don't. The Deli, you know where.
Exactly.
Here's my favorite. By the way, that was the weekend. March 20th, Ontario Theatre, opening for the Babies.
Wow. Wow.
They don't name bands like that anymore.
No.
The Babies.
That's probably a good thing.
I mean, I don't know. Well, there's some names now that I'm like, I don't know.
But the RAZZ is a good name.
Diarrhea Planet.
The RAZZ is a good, strong name for a rock band, and that came from... Who named it the RAZZ? Bill Craig. Bill Craig.
Anyway, end of March, there were 3 nights in Boston, Massachusetts at a place called Cantones. Anyway, we'll learn more about these things in time with the story they're traveling. How long have we been on this roller coaster?
Ted Nicey says it's correct, but Ted, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Do you know?
Well,
we like being correct. That's one thing we like doing.
Yeah, we definitely like being correct. No question. Thank you, Ted. Thank you.
Well, whatever.
I know that. But anyway, these are fun. We'll keep bringing up show and tell visuals like this when we have chances to do something.
Absolutely, because it also makes us review footage.
Well, that's what's been great about this, and I think. Excuse me. I know people are continuing to mourn and pay tribute to Skip Groff, and to on social media and the newspaper, or on online primarily.
Right.
I'm sure there will be ways to further commemorate him and pay tribute. And this, we were. We also want to say we're working with Bobby Keene to include Tommy and of Tommy's voice in the project through several different means. Again, the project is still in development, but what's important to know is that we're going to be able to present something and really make a celebration of something.
Yes,
when we have it
of
ready.
RAZZ.
And well, of course, but make something that will be a festive, fun.
Absolutely, that's what it's about.
Affair.
Yep. If it wasn't fun, we wouldn't be involved. I know I wouldn't be. I don't. It's a lot of work. These things are hours and hours, tens of hours, hundreds of hours of work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't even want to think about how many hours we've put into this so far.
Well, it's not. Don't add it up. I mean, I don't.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to think about it.
Well, but we just. Most people doing these kinds of projects are not doing it for anything more than the satisfaction of doing a project on a subject that you really are passionate about.
Well, that's exactly right.
And love and want to do a project, a documentary. I will say this, that at some point I think everybody will have a documentary about them. Like Andy Warhol said, that everybody's going to be famous for 15 minutes. And
right.
Now it might be everybody gets a documentary, but I kid. It's just that there are several music-related documentaries. DC documentaries. Some that are in many in production. Some that have been completed. I mean, I should bring it on. The more the merrier. I'm always interested in everybody's stories and certainly in documenting things, properly and in context and just especially when you can do it with the subjects and get, the story straight from the source.
Absolutely. Speaking of the, of bands, when RAZZ was around, Switchblade was a band I used to go see.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes.
I used to go see those guys all the time. So they are having a reunion. Switchblade's having a reunion.
May 3rd and 4th, or May 4th and 5th.
Friday and Saturday, I presume?
Yes, and in May, at the beginning of May, it's part of the After Dark Fund in the Villain and Saint. I think that's been announced. I sure hope it's.
Well, it has now.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's the that's part of the After Dark Fund. Mark Seagraves and Tom Bowes are doing that to establish this fund for musicians in need, but they've been having events on a very regular basis, and they're doing, I think, the first Saturday in every month, or first Saturday at the Villain and Saint in Bethesda.
Absolutely.
But the Switchblade reunion's coming up. Anyway, I need I'm sorry. I should have shaved for this. Can you tell?
No, you can't tell. You're too far away from the camera. But I think we're done now anyway. I think we achieved what we wanted to do, which is celebrate the 1-year anniversary of our first screening, and also, since just by whatever reason Skip passed away this week, so we wanted to come on and share some of his clips that we had.
And, pay tribute to Skip.
Yeah.
And, honor his memory. And again, extend condolences to Kelly and Christy and the family, the Groff family, and all of his, loved ones and friends. He had many.
Yep.
And we, certainly considered ourselves friends of his. We're very grateful that he was able to, offer, what he could and what he, his thoughts for
Yep.
our project.
Yep.
And, by no means you'll have heard the last.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah. So sometimes the memories are different from different people. That's always interesting, trying to reconcile those. The memories of an event, sometimes people remember them differently, which is very usual. That's what happens all the time. But in this documentary, it's no different. Sometimes some person will remember an event a little differently than another person.
Rashomon.
What's that?
No, it's this famous Japanese film.
Okay.
Kurosawa. That was the whole thing. Everybody's had a different. The story was different, told by different people.
Okay.
That's just a something that you could. It has parallels in many different ways to
real life.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right. I think we're done. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will certainly be back. Just stay tuned at RAZZ the documentary on Facebook. That's the best place, right?
I tell you, the more the merrier. And spread the word. If you know anybody, people are still finding out about it that weren't aware that this project exists.
Yep, that's right.
And we welcome any further contributions or thoughts. We're online, on the page, and both Richard and I are available.
Absolutely.
And it's been fun. Thank you all for participating and for watching. And again, thank you, Skip, wherever you are.
Thank you, Skip. Thank you, RAZZ.
Thank you, RAZZ. Thank you, RAZZ. Everybody, we'll see you soon.
Talk to y'all later. Thanks for tuning in.